Welcome. I would like to welcome you to episode 454 of the Unpopular Podcast. This is the man, the myth, the legend, Jalen Hunter. Here at the Unpopular Podcast, normally ask you to agree with me. I'm asking you to hear me out. Where I'm going to start today's episode with is a story. A story that hits home every single time I think about it, and I think it's perfect for the situation that we're in. I had a teammate in college. Now, for people that don't understand a team dynamic, don't understand the mind of an athlete, don't understand the mind of just a team in general, the saying, I will die on the court, I will die on the field, that's something that is almost ingrained in athletes. For some athletes, whatever sport they play is their escape. For some athletes, whatever sport they play is their ticket out of the situation that they may be in, they may have grew up in, that their family in. Sports means something to everyone that plays it. And I had a teammate. People that obviously know, I played college basketball, and he was a phenomenal basketball player. He was all state in his, he was from Louisiana, all state. He was a high recruit. And it turns out he had the same thing that Chris Bosh had. Like, he had an enlarged heart. And obviously he had the mindset of, it is what it is, I still want to play. He was playing for something bigger, obviously. And obviously when he came to the school, we didn't know until I think he had real bad chest pains during practice one time, and so bad that he had to stop, and that's when obviously we found out. And there was not a thought in his mind that he would stop playing. There was not a thought in his mind that this injury, this condition that he has, was going to stop him from playing. And my coach said something that was so profound. Now, at the time, you don't want to hear it. At the time, you know, you're still processing things. Your mind is still going 100 miles a minute, and you're still ride or die for the team. You still are playing for something bigger. You still are trying to go to war, or proverbial war, with the crew, with the boys, with the team that you rode with. We were a very close-knit team. And my coach said, you're thinking about 15 minutes. I'm thinking about 15 years. And I could never really understand it, because in an athlete's mind, it's like, bro, you recruited me to come here to win. We practice, we run, we do two-a-days, we do individuals, we do lifts, all of this together. The end goal is to win. So how is it that now you're telling me that the goal has changed? You see, it took someone a little more mature. It took someone a little more seasoned, I guess you could say, to have the proper hindsight of the situation. You see, my teammate would have for sure done anything to play. My teammate would have risked his life to play. And I know I would have done it. I know almost every single person that I've ever played with, every single person that that I've been on a team with would share a similar idea of, I'm in it and I want to play. But it takes somebody outside to be like, yo, hold on, bro. You could literally die on this court. You could literally die on the field. I know it's hard to think about the future, especially when you're in it now. And especially when your future, you thought your future was dictated on the now. No, I have to save you from yourself. Long story less long, my teammate never played again. I don't know if he played, once we graduated, but he never played. Coach made him a coach, and he never played. He could not, obviously it was shocking to all of us, but he said, my job is to think about your next 15 years because you're unable to, which is why you're thinking about the next 15 minutes. I started that story off because for people that watch Thursday Night Football, you saw Tua get hurt again. Another concussion. I think this is like his 4th or 5th concussion in the last 2 to 3 years. I have no right. I have no saying in anybody that wants to pursue their dream, and ultimately, I can't be the one to tell anybody that I don't know what to do with their life, what to do with their career. I have no say in this, and I should have no say in this because I don't know Tua. I don't know anyone in the Dolphins organization. I don't know anybody in the Tagovailoa family. I'm just speaking as someone that has had someone close to me that was forced to stop. Not because he couldn't. Because, if you have an enlarged heart, you can still play. But you run the risk of any given moment, you be on the field, you be on the court, any given moment, it could be lights out. And obviously playing could enhance that moment. Concussions are a semi-new thing. Not saying that it hasn't always been here, but the focus on concussions, the future ramifications of concussions, the studies of concussions is sort of a new thing. And there's a word out there that is scary for most, still a little unknown, but still a very serious word, and that word is CTE. And we've seen mild cases of CTE. We've seen severe cases of CTE. One thing that we know is CTE is something extremely serious and can be life-altering once you're finished playing football, sometimes even while you're playing. A concussion is something that can be, one concussion is something that can be life-changing. One concussion can have a huge effect on your day-to-day for the rest of your life. One concussion. That's how serious it can be. Now, I understand that, as a fan, as viewers, you look at football and you hear about concussions a lot. You've probably had a concussion before if you've played minor little league football, if you played some type of football, you probably had one. I just don't understand. I don't think you understand, or people understand how lucky they are if it isn't a life altering concussion, because there are some that is. Tua has had about 4 or 5 of them in the last 3 years. And each one looks worse than the other. I'm sure it was Tua's life goal to make it to the NFL. I'm sure Tua feels as healthy can be. And I can't tell someone when they should hang it up or not. Especially someone as young as Tua. But like my friend, Tua is always going to think of 15, always going to have a 15-minute mindset. That's just what athletes are. And there's nothing wrong with it. That's just what athletes are. You're thinking about the now. I'm sure for all my athletes, all my former players that are listening, think about this. You've been hurt before. And the first few, once the doctor, or if you've been hurt to a point where you have to go to the doctor, you have to get it checked up, and they tell you that you have to miss time. The first few thoughts in your head is, how long is it going to take for me to get back? Not, damn, I hope this heals right, or damn, this sucks. No, it's how long is it going to take for me to get back? Athletes, it's extremely difficult. And some athletes are not able to do it. And that is perfectly fine. But it's very difficult not to have a 15-minute mindset as an athlete, because you're in it. Every single player pretty much has that. It takes someone outside the situation to be like, and someone that you trust. When my coach told my teammate, yo, you can't play, bro, they had a heat, like, he went off on my coach. The F you mean? Like, he was going crazy, like, on some Booby Miles type stuff. It took a conversation with his mom to be like, yo, his mom was like, yeah, your coach is right. As much as you hate it, as much as I sent you there to further your basketball career, because that's what you said you wanted to do, your coach is 100% right. I think it's going to take somebody extremely close to Tua to be like, yo, I think you should really reassess your life. Because trust and believe, Tua can keep getting back up from these concussions. But there will be a time when that debt is due. And it's very hard to envision a life after sports for a lot of athletes. Hell, I knew early that I was not about to be in the NBA. I was good enough to play overseas, maybe not maybe not for Real Madrid, but I was good enough to play overseas. But I knew good and goddamn well I'm not good enough to be in the NBA. Even in that, I didn't know what was next. I wasn't thinking about what was next. I was thinking about right now. When I was in college, I was thinking, yo, I know I'm not going to, but we're trying to win a championship. Like, I don't know I'm not thinking about what's next until what's next gets here. That's just what athletes do. A lot of them. Now, obviously there are some, but we're not talking about the some. We're talking about Tua Tagovailoa, who on Thursday suffered yet another concussion. It looked bad. He had the whole hand thing again. And it's scary. And you hear multiple people come out most athletes. I heard Ryan Clark. I heard Chris Canty. I heard Herm Edward. I heard a bunch of people come out and say, "Yo, Tua really has to. Someone has to be close to Tua to be like, yo, this might not be it, bro. Like you've made a lot of money. You've made life-changing money. You still will probably make life-changing money due to endorsements and everything, but I never want to see someone go or be forced to leave something that they're not ready to leave. But life is a precious thing. I hope for people that see the landscape of the world and see the landscape of life right now, I hope that people understand just how precious life is. When you see how many people of prominence we have lost in the last week to week and a half, like that. I hope, and I understand that obviously people that are younger still don't really have a grasp of it, but I would hope that people understand just how precious life is. Because once it's gone, it's gone. At this point, your memories, bro. People, I remember when I saw it, and I had a conversation with a couple people, and I told them the angle that I was going to start this episode with. They were pretty much telling me that which is ironic because they're former athletes, former teammates, but they were like, "Yo, you're right, but you're kind of dragging it, you know. Tua's not going to die tomorrow. Tua's not going to, Tua can still walk. You see, he walked off. Tua's going to be fine." And that just proved to me that, and once an athlete, always an athlete. Not saying, if you had a 40-inch vert, you're going to have that at 50 now. But what I'm saying is sometimes an athlete's mind never changes, and that's okay. I want the best for Tua Tagovailoa. And I'm sure there are people around him that also want the best for him. But one thing I do know is that pretty much 4 or 5 concussions in the last 3 years is not it. And I hope that there is somebody that's close to Tua that has that 15-year mindset, because I know Tua, and I don't know Tua but I know Tua because I know how an athlete thinks. I know how a person that is in it thinks. I broke my ankle one time, and I probably did irreparable damage because I was like, I would take my boot off months before I was supposed to just to get some shots up. I was running in a boot, or jogging in a boot. I probably did some irreparable damage. But again, I was thinking about 15 minutes. I hope there's somebody closer to Tua that Tua trusts enough to listen to understand that this 15-minute mindset can drastically affect the next 15, 20, 25 years of your life. And I hope that you choose wisely. I hope that he chooses wisely. So, as tough as it is, let's get to the game. Obviously, we alluded that the Buffalo Bills beat the Dolphins on Thursday Night Football 31-10. Set injury aside, we just talked about it. The Miami Dolphins is the perfect example of the luxury car. The Miami Dolphins have every look all of. You ever seen just a beautiful luxury car or a beautiful sports car? Like, you ever been sitting at a light and then, let's say, a Mustang or a high level sports car pulls up and you just hear the engines revving. It glistens. It's just a beautiful car. That's what the Dolphins are. They have you have Tyreek Hill. You have Jalen Waddle. Even though he didn't play, you have Raheem Morrison. You have Devon Achane. You have Tua. Whenever he gets ready to play, you have Odell Beckham Jr. You have Bradley Chubb on the defense. You have Jalen Ramsey. The Dolphins is a sports car. The issue is the Dolphins is a sports car that lives in Kansas City, Missouri, a place where it snows more times than it's hot. You see, the thing about a sports car, and the thing that's so unpractical about a sports car, is it's not a year-round car. It's a great car to have in the summer. You know, want to go take long drives, go to the beach. It's a beautiful car to have in the summer, and it is a great car to have in the summer. But once the winter hits, oh boy, it is a terrible car to have. It is probably the worst type of car to have when you're dealing with snow, when you're dealing with inclement weather. That is the Miami Dolphins. And what I mean by that is this. What do we know the Dolphins to be good at? Feasting on bottom feeders, feasting on lower level teams, feasting on the teams that they should beat. Like, they'll beat the Giants easy. They'll beat the Cardinals easy. You saw what they did to the Broncos a year ago. The Dolphins are famous for that. And they've been like that for the last few years now. If you're a lower bottom feeding team, a team that they're projected to beat, they will handedly beat you. Tua led the league in passing yards. Tyreek Hill was this close to 2,000 yards. If it wasn't for injury, he probably would have got it. Jalen Waddle got his extension. Jalen Ramsey got their extensions, rightfully so, when they should have. But what happens when inclement weather comes in? What happens when a team that you're looking eye to eye, or some people would think is above you, what happens when they walk in? What happens when you go against a Baltimore Ravens? What happens when you go against a Buffalo Bills? What happens when you go against a Kansas City Chiefs? Then you see, oh, is that the same Dolphins team that put up 70 against the Broncos? Is this the same Dolphins team that a lot of people had winning the AFC East? The question for the Dolphins have been in the playoffs, can you win outside of Miami, which they have not proven to be able to do. And honestly, they would not have had to prove that if they just beat the Bills a year ago. But they couldn't do that. I may have been a little overcritical of the Buffalo Bills. When I did my AFC East breakdown and I talked about the Bills, I said that it was going to be a tough season because they lost a lot of substance this offseason. I wasn't really giving much credit to what remained outside of Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen is a talented quarterback. And we've seen that these last two games. In fact, we've seen that majority of his career. Yes, he has some flaws, but overall, Josh Allen is an incredible quarterback. I mean, hell, after Thursday night, after this win against the Dolphins, he's 7-0 on Thursday Night Football primetime games. And shouts out to James Cook. James Cook had, 3 touchdowns. But I think that this loss is more indicative of who the Dolphins really are compared to how good the Bills are. I think if you really look in the fine print, the Bills still struggled with finding a number one receiver. Looks like Keon Coleman. He only had 1 target. I think Khalif Shakur, he was pretty good. He had like 5 receptions. This game was mainly won off the backs of Josh Allen and James Cook and the defense. Tua had 3 turnovers, 3 interceptions, one of them being a pick 6. But this is yet another year. Now, I know it's early. A lot of things can change. But I started this episode with with the conversation about Tua because I don't know what the rest of this year is going to look like. Because trust and believe, there is not. You're hearing rumblings. Actually, I'm not even going to say because I don't even know what's going to happen. But I don't know how long Tua is going to be out. So this team for sure cannot keep afloat without Tua. But even with Tua, it goes back. The Miami Dolphins is a beautiful sports car. The issue is it's a sports car that lives in Kansas City, Missouri, or it's a sports car that lives in Seattle, Washington. It's only good for a couple months. It's only good when you go against bottom feeders. But when that weather hits, when you play a team like the Chiefs, when you play a team like Baltimore, when you play a team like the Detroit Lions, then you really see, this one of these kids is not like the other. And this is yet another example where now we question, can the Dolphins beat a good team? The question has been, can the Dolphins win away from Miami? Obviously, beautiful weather. You're playing in a dome pretty much. Can you win outside of Miami? Now the questions are starting to be, can Miami consistently beat a good team? Beat good teams? Because I know a lot of people are going to say, well, a couple years, 2 years ago, they beat the Ravens. Yeah, they came back from like 21 down in the fourth quarter. It was a total collapse from the Ravens. Miami is a good team. It has names galore. It is flashy. And I'm not ever going to disrespect Tyreek Hill, Jalen. I'm not going to disrespect any of these people. But what I will say is we're leaving yet another week where we have to ask, are the Dolphins really elite? You can say, damn, the offensive line didn't help. Okay. And you went up against a pretty good defensive front in the Bills. Okay. All right. Well, how many years have we had that critique? How many years have we had the critique of the Dolphins would be good if? Again, man, this is, I think that the Dolphins have all the components to be a great team. Like I said, everyone and their mama would love a sports car. You just don't really understand how impractical it is once it starts to snow. Which is why most people that have a sports car have another car. It is. It's almost, unless you live in like Miami or California or something, or uh, yeah, unless you live in Miami or California, where a sports car is probably okay to be an everyday car. But even in those places, it would be foolish to have a sports car, like a high end sports car, as your only means of transportation. Because they're great until they're not. And this is yet another opportunity where the Dolphins could have proven that they are a top tier team. And this is yet another situation where they failed to meet that call. So, shouts out to the Bills for beating the Dolphins 31-10 on Thursday Night Football. And with Thursday Night Football, as we obviously know, that means that the week week 2 has arrived, and I'm going to give my predictions for the games that we're going to see on Sunday and obviously Monday. Thursday Night Football has kind of, now I I understand it. It's kind of like those overseas games. You understand the reasoning, but then it's just like, ugh. Like, for instance, I think next Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, next Thursday is like, next Thursday is supposed to be, the Patriots and the Jets. I get it. Trust me, I get it wholeheartedly, but no, nobody wants to talk. Nobody wants to see that, man. That is a nasty game. I understand the Patriots just beat the Bengals, but nobody wants to see that. Like, they be throwing some of the bottom feeder Thursday night or matchups on Thursday night, which is hilarious. But I'm going ahead of myself. Let's give my predictions for the games that we're going to see on Sunday. The first game I'm going to predict, obviously, is, what do I say? I say obviously a lot because you guys don't know what I'm saying. So why am I saying obviously? I got to work on that. But the first game is the Raiders at Baltimore. I understand that Baltimore lost against the Chiefs. So they're 0-1. And I understand the Raiders also lost to the Chargers. They're 0-1. Both would love to go into win column. I just think you look different, and teams can lose, like the Commanders. The Commanders lost, and their defense definitely looked terrible. Some losses look different than others, and I think that the Ravens loss, even though it was to the Chiefs and the Bigfoot and everything, but I think the Ravens are one of the best teams in football. I know it's just 1 week. I know that obviously I said it again. I said obviously again. I know that they have to prove it, but I think the Ravens are one of the best, have an opportunity to be one of the best teams in football. And I don't think the Raiders have that opportunity, especially with Gardner Minshew as their starting quarterback and a lot of the holes that they have on the defensive side of the ball. I say all that to say, I think the Raiders are in for a long game against the Ravens. The Ravens, a lot of talk has been around the usage of Derrick Henry, or the lack thereof, uses of Derrick Henry in game 1 against the Chiefs. I think that I'm not going to say he's going to get 30 carries, but I think he's going to get many or much more carries in game 2 against a Raiders team that isn't really good at stopping the run than they did the first game. And then you also have Lamar Jackson. You also have Justice Hill. I just think that it's going to be a long day for the Raiders. So I have the Baltimore Ravens are at home. I have the Ravens beating the Raiders. Chargers at Panthers. I talked about the Panthers ad nauseum last episode and how it looks like as much movement, even I know they lost Brian Burns, I get that, but as much movement as we saw this offseason with the Panthers, it's crazy to me. We're talking about personnel, we're talking about coaches. It's crazy to me how the team looked just as bad in game 1 as it did in game 2, or as it did last year. Now, the Chargers play at the Panthers, and the Chargers didn't look great either, but they did look much better than the Panthers. There's still huge question marks about Bryce Young. There's still huge question marks about some of the personnel on the Panthers. While there's a lot of question marks on the Chargers as well, because again, if it wasn't for a couple of decisions that the coaches made for the Raiders, the Chargers may possibly have been 0-1 going into week 2, but they're not. I just think the Chargers are better than the Panthers. Maybe not marginally better, but I think the Chargers are going to go into Carolina and beat them. You have a better quarterback right now. You have a better defense. Right now, it looks like you have a better coach. I just have the Chargers. I think the Chargers are just better. So I have the Chargers beating the Panthers. You have the Saints at Cowboys. That is a game where we're going to see how much week 1 was because you played against a bad opponent compared to that's really what you are. And I'm looking mainly at the Saints. The Saints put 47 on the Panthers' head. You had Derek Carr talking. You had and rightfully so. When you're beating a team as bad as they beat them, you can say whatever you want to say. Now we're about to see, okay, is this really one of the elite teams? Because it definitely played like that week 1. Or is it just because you played the Panthers? The Cowboys, obviously they played. I said it obviously again. I'm working on it, guys. I apologize. I'm working on it. But the Cowboys, they played the Browns. That's another one. Okay, the Browns weren't able to keep up offensively, so we're really you're going against a team. The Saints have an opportunity to be a high octane offense, which we saw, and a defense. Their defense is always pretty good. This is kind of difficult to pick because I think a lot of what the Saints did, I don't think they're that good. And when I mean that good, I mean putting 47 up every game good. But I do think that the Cowboys, Dak had a lot of layups given to him due to just the lack of preparing or the game plan for the Browns. And he took them every time. So I'm not saying it was easy. I'm saying a lot of the gimmies that the Cleveland Browns gave Dak Prescott, he took. I don't know if the Saints are going to do that. I'm going to go with the Saints. I just think I didn't like let me say this. Week 1 wasn't Dak's best game. While they did win, I think a lot of it was because of the inefficiencies of the offense that was the Cleveland Browns. I think the Saints are going to be better. So I have the Saints going into Jerry's world and beating the Cowboys. Buccaneers at Lions. This is yet another. I don't like giving credit. Let me word this a little differently. I have a tough time giving credit to a team or to a player that I've seen the opposite of a lot of times. Meaning, if I've seen more bad than good, even though I've seen good in recent memory, it's hard for me to get over the bad. That's just how I am in sports. Not saying that I can't be won over. I'm just saying it takes a while. And I say all that to say, Baker Mayfield looked incredible last year, and there were times when he looked incredible last year, and he looked incredible game 1 against the Commanders. He looked like the next coming of Steve Young against the Commanders week 1. And I will give credit, behind a staunch defense, he was able to get this Buccaneers team that did not have Chris Godwin majority of the year. He got them to the playoffs, and they won a playoff game against the Philadelphia Eagles. I think Baker Mayfield has been good. I will say that. This is a rematch rematch of the playoffs last year, and I think the Lions are just a better team. I think the Lions overall, they're especially a better team right now than the Commanders, and I think the Lions are going to win this game. There were a lot of situations in week 1 where Washington could have gotten to the quarterback, could have sacked Baker Mayfield. They just were unable to. I don't know if the Lions are going to have that problem. On top of that, when you get play from Jameis Williams like they got, if he duplicates that, that just opens the door, because now do you know how many heads of the snake that you have to cut off just to get a win? You have to cut off Amon-Ra St. Brown. You have to cut off Jahmyr Gibbs. You have to cut off David Montgomery. You have to cut off Sam Laporta, and now Williams. That's going to be tough. I have the Lions beating the Buccaneers on Sunday. Colts at Green Bay, both coming off a loss. Just as much as the Dolphins need Tua, I think the Packers need Jordan Love just as much, if not more. I know Malik Willis is scheduled to play any game, and Malik Willis didn't work in Tennessee. Any game that Jordan Love is not playing, I think the defense is still going to be okay and still going to be good. And there's still pieces. I mean, Christian Watson's still pretty good. Romeo Dobbs still pretty good. You have Josh Jacobs. But Malik Willis is not Jordan Love. And because of that, even though the Colts did have some things that they can clean up from the week 1 loss against the Texans, I have the Colts winning. Anthony Richardson he has big play capabilities, and I don't think Malik Willis does. So I have the Colts beating the Packers. The Browns at Jaguars. Let me park at this game real quick. And I'm not going to talk about it long, but there were more allegations that came out about Deshaun Watson. And these allegations are not connected to the allegations that came out when he was with the Houston Texans. I'm not here saying it's true or it's false. I don't know. I wasn't there. And I'm not going to call anybody a liar. I'm not going to call anybody anything that they don't deserve to be called. So I don't know. I'm not going to cast any aspersions. What I will say is this. This is yet another situation where allegations have come out about the same person, in which these allegations mirror a lot of the allegations that we heard before. And I say this all the time. When you're producing, when you're putting on, when you're a top of your class, when you're playing to the maximum capabilities that you're able to play with, teams will overlook and forgive a lot of things. They will turn not just teams and fans will turn a blind eye to a lot of things if you are producing wins. Not saying that it's right. I'm saying that's just how it is. A team will forgive a lot if the reward is wealthier than the noise. What the issue that Deshaun Watson is having is the noise is, and has been now for a few years, much louder than the production. We keep saying we're waiting for Deshaun Watson to get back to his Houston Texans skill. Well, he's not there, and he hasn't been there for a brick now. And while we've been waiting for him to get back to his glory days, allegation after allegation after allegation after allegation after allegation continues to come out. On top of him playing like doo-doo water. I'm not saying it was right or wrong for the Cleveland Browns to make Deshaun Watson, until last year, make Deshaun Watson the highest paid player or most guaranteed money in NFL history. But that's the bet that they made. You tied your future to a player that coming in, at least at that moment, noise was louder than the production. And what do you know? As we sit here, a year later, 2 years later, the noise is getting louder and the production is still decreasing. So now you have away fans booing you. You have home fans booing you. You're not getting any wins. And the worst thing that could have ever happened to Deshaun Watson in a Cleveland Browns jersey is Joe Flacco getting off his couch and leading them to the playoffs. So now there's expectation there. Because let's not, and I've talked about this every single time I talk about the Browns. This is a Super Bowl caliber roster. There's only one thing that has been holding it back, and that is their quarterback, the person that until last year had the most guaranteed money in NFL history. So I say all that to say this. They play the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I'm going to predict that the Jacksonville Jaguars beat the Cleveland Browns. The Jaguars should have beat the Bills game 1. They literally turned the ball and turned their win over to the Bills. I talked about this last episode, man. It feels like unless something drastically happens, meaning Deshaun Watson wakes his ass up and plays like the Deshaun Watson that earned that money, which he has not done in years, might I add, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And the pressure is going to continue to build and build and build week after week. Because you know who else saw the Joe Flacco take the Cleveland Browns to the playoffs? And Joe Flacco, obviously he's a vet, but Joe Flacco, who was widely considered out of his prime and a less than quarterback at the time than Deshaun Watson. You know who else saw that? The Cleveland Browns. So now you have a locker room that has expectations that feels like only one person is holding them back from that expectation. What do you think is going to happen then? So I think the Browns need to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. But I just don't think they will. I don't think Deshaun Watson is going to finally wake up and be like, all right, let's get it. No, I don't. So I have Jacksonville beating the Browns. We'll see. 49ers at Vikings. Sam Darnold looked incredible game 1 against the Giants. I think I understand that the 49ers had a very loud offseason. Whether we talk about Brandon Ayuk, whether we talk about not Debo Sanders, whether we talk about Trent Williams. I think the 49ers are going to destroy the Vikings. I'm not taking away from what Sam Darnold did week 1. I think he was incredible. It's just the 49ers, especially their defense and what we saw game 1 against the Jets, that defense is just a tad bit different than the Giants defense. While the Giants defense has names like Dexter Lawrence and everything, The 49ers is different. So I have the 49ers going into Minnesota and beating the Vikings. Seahawks at Patriots. I'm giving all the credit in the world to the Patriots for beating the Bengals week 1. And shouts out to the Seahawks for beating the Denver Broncos week 1. I think the Seahawks are a better team than the Patriots. Now, obviously, I would say the Bengals are a better team than the Patriots, and that didn't matter. But I just think the Seahawks are going to win. I don't know. I'm not going to call week 1 a fluke. I think they went in there and won. But they did only put up, 16 points. And I don't know if they're going to duplicate that success against the Seahawks. So I have the Seahawks beating the Patriots. Jets at Titans. I think that this is a big game for the Jets. You don't want to get 2 games behind right now in your division, the Patriots are 1-0, the Bills are 2-0. You don't want to get into a 0-2 hole. And it's not going to look good, especially against the Titans that literally threw the game away on Sunday. I think the Jets are going to win and have to win. There is pressure on the Jets. Let's not get it twisted. The Jets, you have to beat a team like the Texans. Like, come on now. Come on. So, not Texans, I'm sorry, the Titans. I have the Jets beating the Titans. Giants at Commanders. Let me tell you something, Commanders. Let me sit down. Let me talk to you right quick, Washington. Washington, you are famous for this, okay? You're famous for losing this type of game. You're famous for losing to a team that you have no business in losing to. There is a lot wrong with the Giants right now. I don't know if you saw, and I'm talking to you, Commanders, I don't know if you saw how bad they looked against Sam Darnold and the Vikings. This is the home opener. Let's not let this opportunity slip by. I have the Commanders winning, but I'm not saying I'm the most confident because of recent history. Now, we do have Jaden Daniels, and he did look really good. He looked like a rookie, but he looked really good game 1. I know it didn't win, but he still looked good. Don't embarrass me, Washington. I have them beating the Giants. Rams at Cardinals. I have the Rams. Even though the Rams they've been hit with every single injury imaginable. The Puka Nacua to their damn near their whole offensive line. It's going to be tough for the Rams. And the Cardinals look much better than I thought they would week 1. That's who did the Jaguars beat? Hold on. Because the Cardinals played the Bills week 1. The Jaguars played. I don't remember who the Jaguars played. Sucks. But the Cardinals look much better against the Bills than I thought they would. You know what? No, I'm switching it. I got the Cardinals winning. I just think there is a lot of injuries on the Rams side of the ball, and it's going to be tough. It's going to be extremely tough to overcome a lot of those injuries. I don't see how they do that. So it's going to take a Herculean effort from Matthew Stafford, who is older, and even though Cooper Kupp did have the game of his life last week, I just don't see it. So I have. Let me not say I don't see them. I can see them doing that. There's just a lot of injuries on the Rams side of the ball. So I have the Cardinals winning. Yo, who did the Hold on, man, because that's kind of irritating me now. It's like I see it, bro. Who did the Jaguars play? Was it the Dolphins? Was it the Dolphins? It was the Dolphins. That's who it was. I'm sorry. It was the Dolphins. So, yeah, I have the Cardinals beating the Rams. Steelers at Broncos. The Steelers won a game last week solely on their defense and Chris Boswell leg. You're going against a pretty good defense in the Broncos, but you're going against a rookie quarterback that struggled last week against the Seahawks. I don't know how many times I have to say that Justin Fields, I've said it ad nauseum, so I'm not going to go into detail, but this is a big season for both Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. One of them right now, Russell Wilson, is injured. Justin Fields, you're 1-0, but you didn't look the best. And you're really 1-0 because you have J.J. Watt on the other side of the ball, and you have arguably one of the best kickers in football. You need to look good. I have the Steelers winning, but you need to look good. Justin. You have the Bengals at Chiefs. I've heard a lot of talk. There's been a lot of talk coming out of the Bengals organization about this game. Obviously, there's a rivalry there. I said obviously again, man. There's a rivalry there. I think Joe Burrow is 3-1 against Patrick Mahomes. But I think that right now, especially after we saw week 1, there's the Chiefs and then there's everyone else. And going into Arrowhead, which they've done before, the Cincinnati Bengals have done before, but I don't think T. Higgins is going to play. Joe Burrow, he's nursing a wrist injury, even though he played it off. He couldn't even lift up a bottle of water. I got the Chiefs winning this. And they're poking the bear. I mean, they keep talking about Xavier Worthy and everything. Yeah, I got the Chiefs winning this one. Bears at Texans. I think the Texans are going to smoke the Bears, bro. Don't get me wrong. I think the Bears is an exciting team. Caleb Williams, he didn't look the best game 1, but we can see the talent that he has. But the Texans, bro, they're loaded. Again, I don't need to explain just the sheer amount of talent is on this team. And I'm not going to say smoke. Let me back up. I'm not going to say smoke, but I do think that the Texans are on a different class than the Bears right now. I think Caleb Williams is exciting. You still have DJ Moore and Keenan Allen. You still have Swift. Yeah, I think the Texans are going to win. So I did say it's going to take the Texans some time to get everything together, but still. And then you have Monday Night Football, Falcons at Eagles. I think it's going to take time for Kirk Cousins to integrate himself into this team. And I do think that there are still problems that this team has. Whether we talk about the offensive line, whether we talk about the defensive line, their secondary is pretty good. That is the Falcons, but their defensive line is not the best. And their offensive line for sure is not the best. And you're going up against a ferocious defense or the ferocious defensive front in the Eagles. Even though their defense was trash. Well, it wasn't the best. There was opportunities where they lost the turnover battle against the Green Bay Packers in San Paulo. But I like what I saw from Saquon Barkley, and I'm going to go with the Eagles. I just think the Eagles are a better team. I like what I saw from Saquon Barkley. I didn't really like what I saw from Jalen Hurts, but he didn't have to do much. And I still think it's going to take a little bit more time for the Falcons for everyone to get integrated, even though, again, and they talked about it, the Eagles need to work on their turnover situation. But I have the Eagles beating the Falcons. So we will see what happens this week. Hey, yo, Washington, don't disrespect me, bro. Don't do it. It's the Giants, bro. Let's move forward, man. Let's talk about expectation for a little bit. I want to go over to college football because there was two big stories that I do want to address. When you have a name as big as Deion Sanders, that's obviously going to come with a lot of eyes. It's going to come with a lot of fanfare. That's going to come with a lot of expectations. On top of that, we saw what Deion Sanders did at Jackson State and how he transformed not only that football program, but brought a lot of positives to that school. And we remember the uproar, the angst that people had with him leaving Jackson State and going to Colorado. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because you're starting to hear a lot of chatter. You're starting to hear a lot of people that are starting to turn on Deion Sanders and turn on this Colorado team. In Deion Sanders' career as a Colorado head coach, they are 5-9. And it seems like every good team they play, they get destroyed. Like they pretty much got destroyed against, was it Nebraska? Yeah, Nebraska 28-10. They got destroyed by Oregon. Their best win is against Colorado State and TCU, but this was before we knew how bad TCU was going to be a year ago. And you're hearing a lot of people turn on Deion Sanders and this Colorado team. And it just so happens that they play Colorado State today, actually, which is their rival. And it's like a legit rival. They hate each other. My thing is this. I think it's easy to focus on the negative when the ultimate, and I mean ultimate prize, has not been achieved. With a name like Deion Sanders, with the fanfare, with the eyes, the camera, like with all the attention that Colorado gets, I understand where people would be like, why does it get so much attention when they won 4 games last year? And I understand that. But I think people forget how low, like how far in the depths Colorado was before Deion Sanders got there. Now, I understand that people are saying, bro, we're talking about football. Rightfully so. And let's not get it twisted. On the football side, they have underachieved if you take into consideration the hype that came with Deion Sanders. But I look at the bigger picture. I look at the entire frame. And I think, well, no. They didn't finish with a winning record last year. Well, no. I don't have them in the college football playoffs this year. I think Deion has done nothing but improved Colorado as a school. Now, yes, there were games where he should have won, and he has been rightfully criticized for it. But I think when he got there, Colorado was like 0 something. He won games at Colorado. He has 2 players that are At minimum, both going in the top 10 to 15 in the draft. And he's brought eyes to Colorado, money to Colorado. Colorado is booming attendance-wise, mainly because of Deion Sanders. So while no, Colorado is not in the same class as Ohio State, Texas, Georgia, Alabama, powerhouse schools that have been powerhouses for years now, Colorado is still a success story if you look at where it was before Deion Sanders got there to where it is now. I do think that you have to win. I would like to see more wins, but look at Colorado had like 43 transfers. Yeah, they're playing 43 transfers right now. Like, think about that. Colorado having nearly 50 transfers in one season or one off season. I understand that when you hear Deion Sanders, you think, oh, Colorado should be and he speaks like they're a championship caliber team, which he should. I mean, you're the coach. You have Travis Hunter, who's definitely going in the top 10, and Shakur Sanders that's probably going in the top 10. But for people that's saying that Deion Sanders has failed, like, come on now. You're not looking at the bigger picture. You think because he didn't win a national championship, he ultimately failed. But I'm looking at, he transformed this program, and he turned this program around. And like I said, when he went to Colorado, I don't expect him to win a national championship, at least in the first few years, or at least compete for a national championship, compete for a college football playoff spot in the first few years. It's just not everyone gets a Kellen DeBoer and you go from Washington to Alabama. That just doesn't happen a lot, especially if you're black. But I don't think Deion Sanders has failed at all. In fact, on the contrary, I think he's been uberly successful. That's just me. Speaking of almost failing, Jesus Christ loves you so much. I do want to give a shout out to the Pac-12, man. They talk about the depths. I thought it was curtains for them. You've seen a mass exodus of when this season started, the Pac-12 had two teams. They had Oregon State and they had Washington State. Everybody left from Colorado, Oregon, UCLA, USC, Arizona State. Everyone done left Pac-12. I thought it was curtains. We were singing "It's So Hard to Say Goodbye to Yesterday" when thinking about the Pac-12, the quote-unquote Conference of Champions. But boy, that bounce back is real. I didn't see it coming. Shouts out to the Pac-12 for staying alive, bro. So Boise State, Colorado State, San Diego State, and Fresno State are joining the Pac-12 in 2026-2027 season. No, they're not Oregon. No, they're not USC. No, they're not UCLA. They're not those powerhouse schools. But they are schools that obviously the Pac-12 had a very tough time in securing any schools to stay there. Again, when this season started, they had two schools. And now, how much they got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 schools. Improvement. Shouts out to them, man. I don't have to stay on it long. What this is going to do, I think gone are the days where we think of the Pac-12 as a potential powerhouse. and we think of the Pac-12 as a conference that could produce a championship, because Boise State ain't doing it. Colorado State, San Diego State, Fresno State, Oregon State, and Washington State. Damn, that's a bunch of state schools. I don't think that none of them has any shot outside of Boise State to even step foot in the college football playoffs, in my opinion. But you're still a conference now. You're growing at this point. You're at the infancy stage, just trying to get as many, because now you're opening the door for smaller schools. You're opening the door. Maybe they kick Vanderbilt up out of SEC and they can come to the Pac-12. Maybe they kick, what's another school? Let's just say if the Big Ten, if Maryland wants to go somewhere, they can go to the Pac-12. I don't know. But now that you're showing, okay, we're not the SEC, we're not the Big Ten, but we're also not the MEAC. You know what I mean? So shouts out to Pac-12 for rising up from the dead, because I thought it was curtains, brother. I really did. Shouts out to y'all. I said this before, and we're moving on. I said this before. We are in the literal golden ages of sports. And what I mean by that is we are in a time where we can honestly say that in whatever sport, we have seen the best of the best, right? When you look at the NBA, we're in a generation where we've seen LeBron James, we've seen Steph Curry, we've seen Kevin Durant. We're seeing people like Nikola Jokic and Luka Doncic. In the NFL, we're living through Patrick Mahomes. We saw the end, and we saw Tom Brady. We saw the ending of Drew Brees, and we're still living through Aaron Rodgers. We're looking at, this is the golden age where we're seeing the best and the best. Shohei Ohtani, Aaron Judge. If you want to talk about, Simone Biles, Jordan Childs, Suni Lee, Team USA basketball. We're living through the to me the best period of sports ever. And I've said this before, bro. Greatness looks like something. Greatness, it doesn't look like anything else. When LeBron James was at the peak of his career, he looked like nobody else in the league. There was nobody else even close. Don't get me wrong. Kobe was still Kobe. Kevin Durant, we did see, Golden State and everything. But nobody, when he was playing at his peak, nobody was even close to LeBron James. Nobody was really even close to Tom Brady. Yes, there was talent. Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning, but nobody was close to how great Tom Brady was when he was at his peak. There is nobody close to how great A'ja Wilson is. When we talk about the WNBA, especially this year, and we talk about the races, we talk about Defensive Player of the Year, we talk about Coach of the Year, we talk about Rookie of the Year, we talk about Sixth Woman of the Year. There's not a lot of conversation around the MVP. And that's because there really isn't much conversation around the MVP. There really shouldn't be much conversation around the MVP, because what A'ja Wilson has done this season has essentially snatched that MVP, put it in her car, and said, I'll see y'all next year. In terms of, there is not a conversation who not only the best player in the league this year has been, but there is no conversation of who the best player in the league is. She has taken that conversation and shattered it. I say all that to say A'ja Wilson breaks the WNBA single season scoring record and has an opportunity to be the first player in WNBA history to score over 1,000 points in one season. There has been greats. Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird, Maya Moore, Lisa Leslie, Lauren Jackson, Cheryl Swoops, Cynthia Fowles, Cynthia Cooper. There has been some historically great players in the WNBA. We're living through a time where there are great players. Breonna Stewart, Sabrina Nadescu, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Skylar Diggins. I'm not saying that Asia Wilson is better than some of the greats. But you'd be foolish not to put her in that category already. Asia Wilson is, if you look at her career in the WNBA so far, if she retired right now, not only would she be considered a first ballot Hall of Famer, but she would be in conversation of arguably one of the greatest players we have ever seen. If she retired today, she has 2 championships, I think Rookie of the Year, 2 MVPs, Defensive Player of the Year. The conversation around the WNBA mainly has been about Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, and rightfully so. They are super rookies. Oh, and I do want to shout out, and I hope for a speedy recovery with Angel Reese. She's out for the season with a wrist I was going to talk about last episode, but kind of got bogged down. I pray for a speedy recovery for Angel Reese, but she is out for the season. But rightfully so. We've never seen 2 rookies continue to break record night after night after night like we saw and we have seen from Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. So rightfully so, I understand. And we know the fanfare that follows someone like Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. So I understand that they have been the talk of the town, you can say, for the WNBA. Majority of this season. Almost this whole season. But there is no question. There is no conversation. There is no debate. Who not only has been the best player this year, but who is the best player in the entire world right now for the WNBA. And that is Asia Wilson. And just like all the records that Caitlin Clark has broke, just like all the records that Angel Reese has broke this year, Asia Wilson has probably broke the best one, and that is she has set this WNBA single season scoring record and has a opportunity. I think she's like 50 points away with like 4 or 5 games left. 50 points away from being the first and only player in WNBA history to score 1,000 points in one season. Mind you, for the people that don't watch the WNBA, it's like 1,000 points. That's nothing. Yo, the WNBA plays like 20 games a season or something like that. Maybe 36 games a season. So to score 1,000 points in like 36 games is just crazy, bro. So shouts out to Asia Wilson for leaving no doubt who the greatest player is walking right now. And that is Asia Wilson. Lastly, before we go, you have the unpopular topic of the day. I haven't done it in a minute. I wanted to bring it back. And a topic that I didn't talk about last episode, I'm going to talk about now. And that is the news, the announcement that Kendrick Lamar will be performing for the halftime of the Super Bowl. it would be in New Orleans. And you hear the outroar that we've heard, the outcry that you hear is, why is it, if it's in New Orleans, why is it not Lil Wayne? Why is Lil Wayne not the person that was selected, even though he's from New Orleans and the Super Bowl is in New Orleans? Let me be the one to say what a lot of people don't want to say. In fact, I'm going to do that a couple times in this segment. First, the Super Bowl is not regional, meaning the Super Bowl doesn't automatically have to, or doesn't usually have a hometown person perform. For example, this is not the first time the Super Bowl has been in New Orleans. The last time the Super Bowl was in New Orleans was 2013. I don't know if you remember, but Lil Wayne did not perform in 2014. The Hot Boys did not perform in 2013. NBA Youngboy did not perform in 2013. 2013 was Beyonce with Kendrick Lamar, might I add. He did make a guest appearance. And I think Bruno Mars as well. In fact, the only Super Bowl that I can remember vividly that had like a hometown performer was when Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre and all of them did that, two years ago with Kendrick Lamar. I think Prince did it, and it literally rained purple. It rained purple. And that might be it. Now, there are, when the Super Bowl was in Miami, they had Shakira and I think J-Lo. I mean, that kind of makes sense. But still, just because you're from a certain place doesn't mean that you have to do it. Doesn't mean that you're entitled to do it. Another fact. Lil Wayne is a legend. There's no question that when we talk about some of the greatest rappers of all time, Lil Wayne, it doesn't take long for his name to be brought up. For a lot of people, Lil Wayne is the greatest rapper of all time, and I'm not here to debate you. It's your list. Your list can't be wrong because it's your list. But what I think people don't understand is appeal. People are going to hate me saying this, but it's true. Kendrick Lamar, popularity-wise, Kendrick Lamar is more popular than Lil Wayne has ever been. Because we're talking about different demographics. Kendrick Lamar is more popular than Lil Wayne is. Trust me. And this is a shot, but it's not a shot. It's no disrespect. It's just the truth. We're not talking about the BET Awards. We're not talking about the MTV Awards. We're not talking about the Grammys even. We're talking about the Super Bowl, the single biggest event in the United States every year. This event is bigger than the Macy's Christmas parade, than the New Year's Eve event. This is the biggest event in the United States every year. And Lil Wayne does not have the same appeal that Kendrick Lamar, especially Kendrick Lamar right now, has. I'm not here at talking about the artistry. I'm not here saying that Lil Wayne at his prime did not rap better than Kendrick Lamar. What I'm saying is, if we're talking about right now, Kendrick Lamar is hot as fish grease and is an artist that has earned the Super Bowl. I hear a lot of people, he's doing this off the backs of the Drake back and forth, the Drake battle. Okay. True. So, and I agree. I think that Drake back and forth is a main reason, is a huge reason why Kendrick Lamar was selected. That song, Not Like Us, still rings bells to this day. I was just listening to it before this, before I was record this. But my question is, for the people that are saying that that's the only reason, how are you then negating everything that happened before this beef, or Kendrick's entire catalog, or the fact that Kendrick has one of the highest grossing rap tours ever, or the fact that Kendrick Lamar is a master at performing? If you don't believe me, you can go watch Mr. Round the Big Stepper's performance on Amazon. It is, and I witnessed it live. It is incredible. I saw the video that Lil Wayne put out saying he was disappointed and hurt and broken. But I'm like, my G. That's another thing, bro. It's about performance, bro. Kendrick is a much better performer than Lil Wayne has ever been. I'm not here crapping on Lil Wayne's name. But I'm also not here saying that he deserves something over Kendrick Lamar right now just because he's from the place. If that's the case, why don't we get Birdman's bald head ass up there? I think Kendrick Lamar, first of all, he is, and shouts out to him, he's the first rapper to ever headline the Super Bowl. He's also the first person that has done the Super Bowl multiple times. This would be his third time. First as a headliner, but again, he did it with Beyonce. He did it with the Dr. Dre thing a couple years ago, and this is his first headline. And I think it is well deserved. I'm going to watch. And for people that say, I'm not going to watch, bro. For people that's saying that they're not going to watch. Yo, you know what this whole situation, this whole beef between Kendrick and Drake and the Super Bowl, you know what this has shown me? That people have a really tough time thinking on their own. Because, don't get me wrong, I was knee deep in the beef. Like, I was listening to both, every song that came out, I ran to them. But that beef ain't stopping anything for me. Like, I just because I may feel one person lost doesn't mean I'm gonna stop listening to them. You have people that's literally now saying everything that Kendrick does, everything that Kendrick's doing is trash because they're hand in hand with, or they go hand in hand with Drake, even though Drake doesn't know they exist. Hey, man, I'm excited, man. Shouts out to Kendrick Lamar. I'm going to watch. And for people that's going to hate watch, you're still watching. So, there you have it. That's been today's episode of the Unpopular Podcast. I truly, truly appreciate you guys. If you want an Unpopular Podcast shirts, if you want an Unpopular Podcast shirt, sweater, hoodie, long sleeve, or joggers, the link's in the description below. At multiple different colors, multiple different designs. Get your Unpopular Podcast merch today. Also, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm trying to get as many subscribers as possible. I see my subscribers are going up. I appreciate all of you guys. If you like the content, if you get this far and you're not subscribed, I don't know what to tell you, bro. But if you like the content and you're already subscribed, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend that isn't subscribed to subscribe. It definitely means a lot. Also, I understand that there's people that only listen to DSP. So if you're just a DSP listener, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, please follow. It definitely means a lot. No platform is bigger than the other. So wherever you get your DSPs and you listen to me, you love hearing my luscious voice, please subscribe. It means a lot. Also, please follow the socials. Follow Instagram. Follow TikTok. I appreciate all you guys. That's probably We can get to me the fastest, whether you want to debate. Tell me how much you love my takes. Tell me how much you hate my takes. I post reels pretty much daily, or stories, or we can go back and forth. It just means that you're listening to me, which I appreciate, and you're passionate about however you feel. You keep it respectful. I don't mind going back and forth. Hey, it's fun to me. But yeah, and a lot of the shorts that you see on YouTube, I have to cut them down because it's only 1 minute. So if you want to see the full short, the full reel, go to Instagram, go to TikTok, and while you're there, please subscribe. I appreciate you guys. This is going to be a fun football weekend. This is going to be a fun weekend in general, I hope, for all of you guys. So until next time, much love.